We should not bring that ecosystem here. That ecosystem is a toxic ecosystem. We are a country of actual productive people, hardworking, intelligent. They're only inflated balloon figures you find. If we build the same speed here, we will not also be able to. You need somebody to hold you and say, you're good.
How to choose a right friend?
To choose a right friend, or to get a right parenting, or to get a right mentor. All these three are very difficult in today's world. When you talk what you believe, automatically people will get influenced. But when you talk when you are doubtful, nobody buys into it.
Guruji, what I wanted to ask in that very terms was that there's an ecosystem out there in West which helps them grow now, whether it is printing money or supporting, or there are like minds or communities which are supporting in terms of giving them the kind of education or training which is required here. Whereas in India, when we see in terms of that kind of ecosystem, it is more again corporate driven, where corporate wants people to come join, work with them, learn them. And in one way, if I see that in terms of that, it is also providing the kind of training. If a person is, if person is good enough, I'm not saying very very aspirational, but he's good enough. So the kind of, because to be successful in life, it is not only the education part of that. I've done an MBA and now I'm a successful around it. There are a lot of skills which comes into it, whether it is interpersonal influencing, negotiating around that, and that nobody is teaching in terms of, in this situation you have to talk in this very language in order to influence the other person around that. However, people are learning through experiences, because the kind of people they are interacting in corporate, they're trying to gauge, they are seeing multiple people, seeing that multiple people, learning happens. Learning is slow, I'm not saying it's very very fast. It might take 5 years for a person to learn and understand and then become whatever he wished to becomes around that. However, again, my question again is that that kind of ecosystem which a West is, where the growth is fast, where the support is fast, where the money availability is pretty fast, how do you think is India will be able to build that?
That ecosystem is a toxic ecosystem. If you build that fast, if you keep funding losses like that, and you keep just printing money, you keep adding, that is the reason why there, if you see, the productivity on an average is very low. There only inflated balloon figures you find. Real productivity is not there. If we build the same speed here, we will not also be able to productively improve. Are you understanding? We should not bring that ecosystem here. We should redesign our own ecosystem of productivity. There, that inflation, that system, one person starts a company. They build a wrapper around some LLM something, and they build a wrapper around, and they can quickly become $1 billion celebrated, billion unicorn, this, that. India, thankfully, we don't have that ecosystem. It's good. And thereby, we are actually genuinely innovating. That is the reason why even this so-called big guys who once said India will lag behind in AI and all that, now they are saying India is too fast picking up. We are a country of actual productive people, hardworking, intelligent, and actually we can bring something to the table. Very innovative, jugadu mentality also. Lot of jugadu is there. There they don't have too much jugadu, and they are so laid back, and they have an ecosystem. That ecosystem is a false ecosystem. That cannot, thankfully it should not be brought into India. India is developing its own productive footprint, and हाथ पैर ज़्यादा चला रहे इधर, उधर कम हाथ पैर चलाने को पड़ रहा है. तो क्वेश्चन इनवेरिएबली इज, उतना कम हाथ पैर चला के वहाँ पे जो इकोसिस्टम है वो उसको इधर कैसे लेके आ सकते हैं?
उसको लाने की जरूरत नहीं है वहाँ पे.
यहाँ पे वैसा क्रिएट भी नहीं करना है.
नहीं, वहाँ क्रिएट भी नहीं करना है. बट what I'm trying to tell you, Guruji, is the way they articulate in terms of how success it is. They define success or they articulate success. And when you listen to those very talks in terms of how they have built up from where they start, how did they start it, how they have built it up from, it resonates with a lot of people who are currently struggling in terms of building it out.
But there are so many problems also there, no?
Right. Very rightly said around that. There are so many problems around that. So again, my question again comes out here is communication. So what I wanted to ask around that is, For any businessman or for anybody to grow around that, communication is the key. You need to present yourself, you need to articulate it, you need to negotiate. For everything you have to talk, right? Now talking rightly is the current, what I feel, in this very generation. People who are, there is a lot of hunger when we talk about Gen Z, there's a lot of hunger. However, when you try to say that, okay, present yourself or present something in this very fashion, they fade out in terms of that they don't know how to talk, what to talk, and how
Perfect.
to
You got the
impress.
point. Bang on. Yeah.
Right? How do we build that kind of an ecosystem here?
Fundamentally, you boil this down fantastically into one thing. Everything is related to talking.
Yeah.
How do you talk? Don't tell me my mouth and I. How do you talk? Your being decides your talking.
Okay.
Say, when we are conversing or when you are talking, the reaction time for you to think and say something is almost very small. In just a second or a two, you are expected to talk. If I talk and then you take a long pause, it's not generally in office, in your productivity. To be impactful, you need to be extempore and you need to be almost without a lag. You accept it?
Yeah.
So the processing should happen enormously.
Yeah.
Now, how my being decides my processing capability. Problem is this Gen Z is excited, but the being is not, because so many wrong or so many polarized opinions have been fed into this Gen Z. Polarized, extreme right wing, extreme left wing, or you understand what I'm trying to say? There is all kind of. I'm not saying one is good, one is bad, but all kinds of polarity is fed into this Gen Z. That is the reason why their being is not doesn't have an integrity. They subscribe to one thing in one way and subscribe to something else in something way. Thereby what is happening, as their being is confused, their ability to process is decreasing. Because you understand what I am trying to say. The more bandwidth you have for your processor, the more you can process. The more integrity you have in your system, then you can process more. Integrity is lacking, and so their being is lacking, and because being is lacking, they are not able to communicate and learn those skills. That way they are enthusiastic, they are ambitious, they are motivated, but they don't have the processing speed. That's the problem. They don't have the processing speed. Am I clear with you? They are more motivated, more enthusiastic, and more excited and all that. That processing is because that's being damaged by this multipolarity infusion into them. Once this Gen Z removes this multipolarity and know this is what I subscribe to, this is where I am, then their processing speed with their enthusiasm, motivation will actually be much more, and they can have great success. Fundamentally create an integrity of being. That creates fantastic communicators. When you talk what you believe, automatically people will get influenced. But when you talk when you are doubtful, nobody buys into it. Yes? So we need to actually, even if you are wrong, if you believe that wrong and talk, no, people over a period of time believe it. At the end of the day, what you believe in, buy in, you should be able to process that effortlessly and talk. This Gen Z has this polarity, they have confusion what to believe. Because you in the beginning started, no, they want something but they don't clearly know what they want. They are excited but they are not exactly focused on what they want. They are impatient. They want to quickly achieve their results. They want to add impact when there is, when they are not fit to add actually impact. They don't give enough time to prepare. They don't set their systems properly, fine tune them properly. They are not investing in fine tuning them. All this is happening because they are not having an integrity of their own character within their own self. They are at one place they want to be this, and at another place they want to be something else. You understand? And they want to be too much of a package. That's the integrity of being. When you cultivate integrity, your communication will come. These days, you know, most Gen Zs are very hyperactive because of this, because you know what, they want this and that. The truth is, life cannot give you this and that. You can only be this. You cannot be that. Deal with it. When you teach that integrity, relaxation happens. So social media and other people, even the society, is dragging them into this pressure of being this and that. I think you understand. we want this. We are creating too many aspirations and too little emotional satisfactions, personal emotional satisfactions. When you add a sprinkle a lot of personal emotional satisfaction training into this Gen Z, I'm sure this Gen Alpha after that will be a very successful generation.
Guruji, very well said. So everything is boiling down to training
Training,
or
personal integrity.
and personal integrity. Everything is boiling down to thing. So if we have to improve somebody, we have to communicate, we have to train, or we have to talk
Even in
and
the business also, I am from the communication, let me deviate a little bit. See, for example, Sundar Pichai. He started somewhere, he did courses, IIT, and then he went to Wharton School of Business, and he went to US working there, took loan, and okay. So I am not his biographer. So the point is, if you observe, the CEO is already there. When he was working, he was the one who walked up to the management and said, I think we should build our own browser. The visionary is already there. It's just that he could not notice himself. He was not aspiring, but he was facilitating by going to Wharton School after his degree. He's trying to add up, but he is also not clear. So most people, to create this integrity, what to do? We need to have proper mentor also, and a proper family ecosystem. Today what is happening is everybody is running in their own personal direction. So because we feel lonely and we feel we are the in charge of our life, this everything is boiling down to training, integrity, character building, personality. All this is not happening properly. Why? Ante? Because we don't have a family system happening here. If you have a family system, I think you understand, training cannot happen until otherwise you have some emotional safety net. You need somebody to hold you and say, you're mine, you're good. You have 1,000 problems, but still you're good, you're good. And rule number 1, you are good. Rule number 2, when I know you have 1,000 problems, you are bad, and then you are good, refer rule number 1. Even when you are bad, refer rule number 1, that you are good. When you create that emotional security, what really happens is people then automatically learn, and this character integrity, building, their own training they can invest on. Now what happens is, when everybody you see are running, you are on your own, you don't feel like training. I think you understand. That is the problem. So how everything is boiling down to that, how to build that. Create good, loving, nurturing families. Today we have panic attacks, emotional, anxious parents. Parents are having more panic attacks than children, you know that? Amma, it should go. The father is always the angry young man, or mostly, or mother is the angry young man, and they have their own fights. And they, if you observe, mother and father has fights, but when it comes to children also, they find multipolarity between parents about their future. So they stop trusting parents. You can fight with each other about your points, but when it comes to my point, you both should have a clear vision. Then I am okay with you guys having your fights. I think you understand. But when I myself is at a question, then also mama says one thing, papa says one thing, then what really happens is the child understands there is no integrity. Then how can you expect a character integrity or personality integrity in the child when he grows up, he or she? And because there is no integrity, this learning, it takes 5 years, 10 years, you say, people went to corporates are now retraining, unlearning this unnecessary junk ahead and this unlearning. For some people 2 years, 5 years, 10 years for some people to unlearn this integrity. But by the time they unlearn, life is over.
Life is over, yeah.
Why? Because fundamental parenting and fundamental family structure is being destroyed by the West. India is emulating that. No, family structure and personal bond development with the family, and it's very, very important and integral if you want Gen Alpha to be a very successful generation. No, it doesn't always have to be spouse, or it doesn't always have to be mother, father. Create one friend or one mentor who says, who creates that emotional mental bond with you, and with whom you are comfortable, that the person taunts you also, you're okay.
But how to find that person? Because trust, comfort level is there, but is the person competent enough to teach me that? I'm not sure. But how to find that person? Because trust, comfort level is there, but is the person competent enough to teach me that? I'm not sure.
That's what it is. It's very difficult to find a
Yeah.
person.
So, Guruji, what you're putting across is an ideal situation, and it is
No, it's not ideal. It's actually practical.
practical situation. But in today's scenario, when we are looking at people, right parenting, if everything goes right, the person will automatically become right. It's an ideal situation when we are
No,
putting it around.
everything goes right. No, I'm saying you need to have one person. You need to have one person, one family.
Guruji, I'm talking about this entire, the way you explain, right parenting, right education system, right
No,
coaching, right mentoring.
you don't need a right education system. What I'm trying to tell you,
Hmm.
you don't need right education system. If you have right parenting, it's enough.
Hmm.
If you don't have right parenting, you need to have a right friend.
Hmm.
If you don't, right parenting is enough. You don't need anything else. But if you don't have right parenting, you need to have a right friend. If you don't have a right friend also, you should have a right mentor. If you don't have a right mentor, then yeah, that's a problem. So at least one of the three should be there.
One of the three should be there, depending upon in terms of who has an holistic experience or holistic understanding of life. Not required.
Not required. Trust me. Why? Because the truth is, independent, honest discussion, even with your friend, can lead to a lot of thought-provoking things in your life.
So how to choose a right friend?
Asalu, to choose a right friend, or to get a right parenting, or to get a right mentor, all these three are very difficult in today's world. But these days gurus are supposed to be these mentors, actually, life holistic mentors. These days we have this life coach culture also, no?
Yeah.
You read few books and you motivate people and you become life coaches are also, but I don't want to criticize or blame, but originally gurus are supposed to be the mentors, but these days gurus are also not doing a good job.